MMA Plug, and today we're going to be talking about UFC Freedom 250, where fights and politics collided. Held on June 14th for Trump's birthday, we saw Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje and Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane. Those narratives were beyond entertaining. You couldn't help but want to watch. And the scenery of the White House was beautiful. I can't lie to you. I can't believe how entertaining it genuinely was. As someone who was counterculture, punk rock, I wanted to, question all the things that were in place. But watching it go down, if I was an employee, hey, I'm not saying a word. Because I truly am a fan of the UFC. I'm passionate. I love fighting. So, if they were paying my paycheck, I wouldn't speak out. But I love the walkouts. It was like Goodfellas, the way the long shots were. They pulled you out. And it's just like, I love it. It was actually really good. And I hate to say it, I'm smiling thinking about it. It was entertaining. I fell for the slap. Whether it was Steve Garcia getting his ass knocked out. I'm a huge Steve Garcia fan. Bo Nickel fought a Bambi clone, what the fuck? He fought a newborn baby deer, I'm sorry. And Rufy won by murder. Honestly, he couldn't, you couldn't really kill him. He didn't take as much risk as I'd like, but again, it's a tactician. A lot of these fights are one-sided. You had Josh Hoke beat the heck out of Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis to me quit. I wasn't a fan of that. They had a lot of one-sided fights, but again, I like watching finishes, so I can't complain about a finish. And Ariel Helwani, or I like to say, Ayman Zahabi, he actually had a really good walkout, not to mention Sean's too. I forgot to mention Hokit's. I actually really liked Hokit's too, because I love that song. It's just so good, bro. The lights were amazing. The live music, amazing. I would love to see this again, and you truly just felt the energy. And even though it was a small crowd, 4,000, the USA chants are pretty awesome. And it's unbelievable how much, coming into this, I was anti. Again, if they paid my paycheck, but there's some things I have to address. You had these people march, and they didn't start all together. If you had a director to do that, he can signify, hey, I want you to do it at this pace, and this is exactly how I want it. You can't do that with the AI. And even at the end, you had the AI fighter holding the American flag, but yet their hands weren't actually on the flag. It was being held by their neck. And I didn't like that either. It was just pretty lame and lousy, and it's just, hire me, man. Hire me. But the UFC wants to be cheap, although being $1 billion company. I do want to go on to how I did fall for some of the betting advertising. The first time I ever placed a bet was Freedom 250. I deposited $10, received a bonus 20 for Alex Pereira. I lost my bet, but I went back at it for the Justin Gaethje fight. I deposited 5. I was like, the rates, he's a 1 to 5 underdog. If I win, I'm winning big. So I put $5, and then you saw the fight play out. You're like, no way, he's actually doing pretty damn good. No, it's Ilia. And then it's a third round. And at that point, I put all my money on Gaethje. I'm playing, I wish. I put $30. I'm broke college student. But my main question is, how did UFC Freedom 250 fall into fruition? What does the UFC truly have to gain from this? Are our tax dollars being paid for this event? And what is sports washing? Me, myself, MMA Plug, I'm going to tell you how this really happened. This is going to be a treacherous, uncharted journey, but thanks to other journalists and resources we have out there, like this graph. An iceberg. It's very simple and yet easy to digest, because layer by layer we can talk about how deep this really goes and how dark it really goes. So I appreciate you for watching. You're watching MMA Plug. Like and subscribe and show your f***ing grandma. Layer 1. It all begins with Dana White's origin story. He likes to tell you that he comes from humble beginnings. That the Fertittas, they were down on their money, and they trusted him, and he got them out of that rut. He got them through the mud. But it's much deeper than that. Although they did have a struggle period in the negative for a while, in 2001, Dana White saw an opportunity to try to get away from the pay-per-view narrative that they were cockfighting, and he could try to get venues at big places like casinos. And luckily, a new friend and Donald Trump would offer him that in his Taj Mahal casino in Las Vegas. For Trump and Dana, this was a mutual relationship, as Trump would rehabilitate Dana's image and,
Donald was the first guy that recognized the potential that we saw in the UFC and encouraged us to build our business. He hosted our first 2 events at his venue. He got in the trenches with us. He showed up for the fight on Saturday night and sat in the front row. Donald championed the UFC before it was popular, before it grew into a successful business, and I will always be grateful, so grateful to him for standing with with us in those early days. For over 15 years, Donald Trump has been a loyal and supportive friend. And I know that if I needed Donald, he would be there for me, just like he was when I first met him. Let me tell you something. I've been in the fight business my whole life. I know fighters. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is a fighter, and I know he will fight for this country.
You know, and as far as his popularity as a president and, you know, his policies, I mean, that stuff goes like this over a 4-year term for every president. But it doesn't change my relationship with him. Yeah. You have to understand, every time that I see him, I'm going to see him tomorrow. Every time that I see him, it's like if you run into your friend that you've been friends with for 25 years. Yeah. We talk about friend shit. Where I'm always going to have critics, and he's definitely always going to have critics, and it's part of life.
Trump's love for the UFC and mixed martial arts, as well as control, would go into the purchase of Affliction. Affliction in 2008, and you can find it on Wikipedia, you dork. I just want you to know, if you wear Affliction and you're a sissy lib, you're a poser. But I would also like to mention a new entry on my layer one. Post the UFC Freedom 250 event, I saw a lot of sponsoring for the Riyadh festival. And I just can't believe that people are even willing to go to Riyadh, let alone why the US would sponsor an event in Riyadh. You can't be a tourist and be gay in Riyadh. And that's just not as free as America. And I know some conservatives be like, I would love to go there. Screw them libs. But if they revoke one freedom, they can probably revoke plenty more. They violate many human rights. And I just can't believe that they're getting sponsors. I just don't want to see a foreign entity control an American fight. It's just shocking. I truly find it shocking that a tyrannical foreign government has got sponsors at an American event. Like the most American event I've ever fucking seen in my life. Turkey al-Sheikh controls Zuffa boxing. So I shouldn't complain. Maybe he's the one that really got that there. Layer 2. Back to the relationship between Donald Trump and Dana White. Like, this is a loyal relationship between Dana White and Trump. I'm actually envious of a relationship like that. I don't have many good friends. We would also see Dana White appear at 2024's Republican National Convention to also campaign for Trump.
I am Dana White. I am the CEO and president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Now think about this. This man's running for president of the United States. He's fighting for the future of this country, and he's concerned about interrupting my family trip. That's the President Trump that I know.
The narrative that Trump is worried about Dana White's family trip is so flawed. Dana White doesn't even care about his own family, let alone his own wife. By scheduling a C-section premature, he jeopardizes his own wife's health, let alone his child's health.
My son Aiden, when she was pregnant with him, the due date was the Chuck Liddell fight.
Oh, Lord.
And I said to the doctor, this ain't going to work. This doesn't work for me.
Man, I don't know where this medical field medicine is at, but...
So we scheduled a C-section to take him early. Yeah, when the baby's due, hey, the baby's due, let's go.
But y'all did
that was supposed to be Saturday on the fucking Chuck Liddell fight.
This is simply just an agenda for Dana White.
He doesn't care about anyone but himself for 25 years. Very clear. Nobody in the Trump campaign has ever told me what to say. Nobody tells me what to say, and I'm nobody's puppet.
Yeah, right, buddy. Yeah, right. And my toilet seats are gold. Same, Momo Shmomo, honestly. Put himself on the line for Trump because they're friends, and it's much deeper than politics. It's crazy to me. Because even in the post-Jan 6 event was something that to many doomed Trump's stop. And 6 months after, Dana White would have Trump walked out at a UFC event. And to many it was shocking, but to some Republicans it was reinvigorating. And that's what rebranded Trump's image, or refurbished it, should I say. Dana White single-handedly refurbished Trump's image and project him back to the masses as a strong fighter person. And it worked. He won the election in 2024. Dana White would go on to air Trump's ICE ads until the death of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Dana was all for Trump's political agenda. There's gonna be amendments that are passed for Dana White's company, and it's through the lobbying.
Layer 3.
According to TikTok by President Trump, the UFC sphere will stick around, well, at least till his term is over.
Paris, France, the Eiffel Tower, 1889 it was built. It was supposed to be taken down immediately after the World's Fair. And then they said, you know, we sort of like it. Let's leave it up a little bit longer. And then they said, let's leave it up longer and longer and longer. Well, they never took it down. And, you know, we're building something in front of the White House that's quite attractive to a lot of people. It's going to have the big UFC fight on June 14th. And I'm looking at it, and maybe we'll never, ever take it down.
And maybe not at the White House, but we will at least see it featured by Dana White because he spent so much money. Why would he not use it again? He's rich. He's not dumb.
We're paying the entire bill on all of this. Everything that you're seeing, not $1 of taxpayer money will go into this. And this is the UFC's gift to the 250th birthday of America. And I think one of the myths that I would like to crush is, I don't care if you're far right, far left, right down the middle, wherever you sit politically, because everybody sits somewhere politically these days. This isn't about politics. This is about the United States, you know, what this country is about, how it was built, where we all came from. If you love America, you're going to love this event. And this isn't a political statement, this event. This event is for all Americans. And it's about America.
An educated fan shouldn't buy Dana White's crap, whether, oh, this event was for America, no matter where you are politically. Dana White digs at the audience for even having a spectrum politically, because at the end of the day, his only real notion is to make money. He doesn't care about your beliefs. He doesn't care about you. And as an educated viewer, whether if you're far-right Republican or left, you should care whether or not if your beliefs are being accounted for and whether your money is being well spent. Now, I would like to showcase a compilation of all the times Dana White has scrutinized his fans and journalists, all before the press conference and event of Freedom 250.
Problem with the media? Who the fuck are you, and what the fuck have you ever done? Nothing. You're nobody, and you've never done anything ever. Nobody's ever depended on you for a paycheck. Who are you to criticize anybody? I was just saying at the press conference in Winnipeg on Saturday, you have all these people on the internet talking about what we should be doing with our business. I said, holy shit, you guys are fucking brilliant. PFL, Bellator, ONE FC, many, many other failing companies. Why don't they just fucking hire you guys? You guys have the answers for everything, right? It's just, I can't even read this shit because it's so dumb. And I realize these guys know nothing about this business, yet these are the people that are covering it. It's fascinating to me that anybody listens to any of these people. All these experts, right, that I see online, these guys must be brilliant. They have all the answers, you know, on what we're doing wrong and what we should be doing and all this other stuff. These people have no idea. First of all, they know less than zero about the business, okay? Nothing about the business of MMA, especially my business and what I do. When we sold, me and the Fertittas, for $4.025 billion in 2016, everybody said, Ari overpaid. This isn't worth it. You know, blah, 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 blah. I'm not the guy, and all the shit that they've said. Well, look where we are now.
What's your impressions of Zuckerberg from your time on the board?
One of the most impressive human beings that I've ever met in my life. I mean, you and I talked a little earlier. I like killers. I like Michael Jordan. I like Tyson. You know, I like Carl Icahn and these type of guys. And Mark Zuckerberg might be the biggest killer I've ever met in my life.
We talked about Inside and 2 years ago. You don't think why don't you think men should be open publicly about their mental health struggles?
Well, I think that
I've seen a lot of fans and viewers online commenting or discussing what they perceive as a lot of AI-generated content in the broadcast that maybe wasn't in previous iterations of the UFC. Is this something that's coming with the Paramount deal, or just a new direction for the UFC, or do you have any insight on that?
What does that mean?
AI stuff, commercials, part of the promotional content, just AI in the UFC in general. I've seen fans complaining about.
Oh, yeah? What are they complaining about?
I guess I've seen people saying that the UFC should be paying artists instead of using generative AI, stuff like that.
Give me a fucking break. AI is coming, and if we're using AI, who gives a shit? People are upset about it. We should use artists. How about this? Shut the fuck up and watch the fights.
And all these clips from Dana White just irk my heart, because you do not talk to employees like this. Dana White is a tyrant in his own work field because he is the boss. I can't blame him for that. But you treat people with respect. You treat others with respect. And Dana doesn't have that, man. Truly. Not to mention they deviate from things like Face the Pain, original stuff that got them there.
I guarantee you that the claw will be used again, because according to court filings, the UFC claw event costed more than $60 million. And 10,000 hours were spent on building the claw. The claw was built from Germany and shipped to Philadelphia and driven to DC, where they built it on the White House lawn. That laborious thing was accomplished. I gotta give them that. That was pretty cool. The production was pretty damn awesome. And I just question that, are taxpayers paying for anything when it comes to the claw? Because, okay, I understand that apparently the UFC spent all their money on funding and building the claw. That makes sense. But what about security? What about government employees cleaning up after trash? Now that's a big question, alarming me, because if you need more police officers, I mean, the UFC is not gonna pay police officers. It's not gonna pay law enforcement.
I would like to mention, I have been making a lot of inserts, post, and edit in the edit phase, but I just want to say, looking from some of this B-roll, man, just some weird Aryan, like, stuff. I'm sorry, it's just like, how do I say this? Where are the minorities?
Controversy around this arena being built. Lots of differing opinions in the mainstream media, and lots of not so fun things said about the Trump administration because of the monstrosity that I am currently standing in. But getting past that, is this not the coolest view you have ever seen in the history of American sports ever? I mean, this is literally like the Roman Colosseum. That's like the closest thing I can possibly compare it to. But fun reminder, this isn't just happening to celebrate Flag Day. This Sunday also happens to be President Trump's 80th birthday. So talk about the coolest birthday party venue of all time. Hottest ticket in town. It's literally impossible to get inside the venue. Every single foreign dignitary, member of Congress, person who works in the administration, all wanted to be here. Impossible to get. In fact, most of the media filming around me right now is speaking in foreign languages because people are coming from all over the world to see all of this.
I just wanted to stress that this was a very exclusive event, and even highlighting by someone in the Trump family. I mean, I'm jealous to an extent, of course, like, because I just feel like outpriced, excluded, and like, bro, like, what? Like, I'm handsome, bro, like, fuck with me at least. Like, why do I not have opportunity? I'm talented at my job, I swear. With some fine-tuning, though, with some fine-tuning.
And, dude, like, Dana White poses like a straight bitch, bro. Like, I said, plug. I'm sorry, he looks like a little bitch, bro. He looks...
On to layer 4. I will read this from my phone. June 7th, a week prior to the White House event, filed by the Public Integrity Project in District Columbia Federal Court, alleges that the Department of Interior and the National Park Services violated federal law by organizing a private sporting event on public property and failing to obtain congressional approval for the event's multiple construction site, and disturbs the peace of the Veterans Memorial during the weigh-ins. This is what the lawyer had to say about the UFC event being held. This is the lawyer, Brandon Below, a lawyer of the plaintiffs. This is what he had to say. Ultimately, we want to stop this fight and the permanent installation of the quote-unquote claw. But I want to be clear, this is not an attack on MMA in the slightest. This is an attack on the corruption that is going on facilitating the event. The idea that corrupt entities were in play when facilitating this event. And I think so too. I think corrupt entities were in play when facilitating this event. But this lawsuit would be rejected in June, 2 days prior to the event, and I just think that's crazy. Like, what?
this lawsuit got shot down immediately. And it did not concern Dana White because he's not a lawyer. He didn't care. I'd also like to mention, Trump also bought $50,000 worth of Zuffa stock, parent company of the UFC, in spring. So this, along with the fact that you have a fight being held on White House ground, where now Trump owns stock in the company that would reap and benefit from this event, would only make you think that this has to have some corporate corruption going on. You have Trump making money from the White House event. Isn't that crazy? The same guy who's suing the Federal Tax Reserve for $10 billion. And that's against American taxpayers.
Where President Donald Trump is suing the IRS for allegedly leaking his tax returns. The lawsuit puts Trump, his sons Eric and Don Jr., and the Trump Organization up against the Treasury Department, suing for $10 billion in damages.
That is crazy! The fact that this event is held on Trump's birthday should tell you exactly what it is. To only benefit Trump. I find it egregious that Trump is suing for $10 billion. I want to understand the narrative that he was financially exposed, but suing for $10 billion, and this is the same guy talking about affordability.
With Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing.
The word affordability is a fake word but made up by the Democrats.
I would also like to mention Pete Hegseth, his most recent TJ Dillashaw edit. He has been recently training with the military and showcasing his athleticism, his strength, and it only reminds me of my boy TJ Dillashaw. And he's trying to ostracize the military out and ensure that all military are now currently looks maxing. And it's just crazy. He's just doing it for publicity. And I do understand the mentality that you do want in shape military. But my picture that I have in my mind is that I would love to see veterans attend this event too. But I want to see some out of shape veterans. I want to see my uncle. I want to see my grandpa, and I would like to see your uncle, your grandpa. I just feel like it isn't fair to them who don't fit the height-waist ratio.
Old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience.
In my mind, it is very narcissistic that Trump and Pete Hegseth want our military to look so perfect. Because in my mind, you know, God doesn't care if you have a six-pack or not. So if you serve time in the military, you deserve the opportunity to still have that chance to buy a ticket. Ever long so before Freedom 250, Dana White attended the White House corresponding dinner where a shooter would attend this event and supposedly scare and inflict fear upon the audience. But it only riled up Dana, and he was super curious. Here's this clip where he also meets Pete Hegseth.
The Correspondence Center?
Yeah, the Correspondence.
What an amazing quote. By the way, true to your point about if a fight broke out, I'm running out there. I just saw you say, I stood up and watched everything.
It was fucking awesome.
It was like surreal.
So we sit down, and I got Pete Hegseth sitting next to me having a fascinating conversation with this guy.
Yeah.
And they have the dais up here. My table is right in front. They bring the dais out. And the woman that runs the media, the correspondence media, she gets up and she says, "Thank you for coming, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, all the members of the media. We're gonna eat and then we're gonna start the show," right? So they got salads in front of us. And all of a sudden, man, you just hear plates breaking and glasses. You just hear all this commotion, like when a fight breaks out. You turn around, there's 50 Secret Service guys with guns out, and they're screaming, "Get on the ground now."
Oh my
and,
God.
And I'm like, holy shit. We don't know what's going on. You know, there's a threat. They get the president and the vice president out of there. They clear the dais. Now the dais is full with guns, guys with guns like this, with the lights on the end of them, pointed at us, out into the crowd. And I'm just like, holy shit. Everybody's on the ground. Hegseth did not go on the ground either. And then literally these guys are moving so fast through this thing, and they're coming toward our table, and I'm like, is the guy over here, or is there a bomb over here, or whatever? And it was just, now think about the greatest movie you've ever seen like that.
You were in it.
Times a million, okay? My adrenaline was through the roof for 4 hours after that. I flew back to Vegas, I was bouncing off the walls on the plane. And But to be able to be involved in something like that and nobody gets hurt, but you get to experience.
Well, that's the point. Is that if somebody got hurt, you couldn't even tell the story.
Yeah, it's true.
But also,
well, I might have a much different feeling about it too. If bullets started flying around.
Layer 6, and I swear it's gonna be some deep shit. UFC White House isn't the only political favor given to Dana White by President Donald Trump. The Muhammad Ali Reformation Act is in place to benefit Dana White. It will go through Congress and it will decide whether there will be a new way to conduct boxing. And it will stray away from the model where fighters can negotiate their contracts on a per fight basis if they were to be champion. And it will try to stick with much tighter contract. And again, all boxers under one company and there can only be one champion, which limits the power of fighters so they can negotiate the contract, try to have bidding wars with promotion. If you only have one, there will be no bidding war. And this was to prevent Don Kings of this world. And I think Dana White truly is, because when you limit fighters' contract where entry fighters can only have 12 and 12, they're not making much money unless they're fighting habitually. And when you're not doing that, you're not making money. And it's scary to not make as much money and you don't have as much freedom. And you have to just be a slave to your craft. And that's not bad if you really are passionate, but life happens. Injuries, kids, parents, all types of stuff. And when you don't have things for fighters to unionize with, we have fighters like Stephen Bonner, people who have built the company from the ground up, someone who literally has been there since Dana White's pity story.
Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin would meet in the finale of The Ultimate Fighter Season 1. And that was an absolute war. And arguably at the time, people even thought Stephen Bonner may have won that fight.
And yet now, in 2076, he's deceased, overdosed due to painkillers. Because there was no proper way to receive help after retirement. There was no way to receive Medicare. He was stuck using painkillers and overdosed. And it's sad because this man is someone who you see in the UFC game. And he built the company from the ground up, and yet he hasn't received the flowers he truly deserves. And I wish the best to his family. Ariel Manuel, owner of TKO and parent company of UFC, has criticized the attacks of civilians in Gaza, but still advocates for the destruction of the regime of Hamas, but criticizes choices of Benjamin Netanyahu.
And the right wing in Israel are causing problems in the West Bank. They should have a homeland. As I said, my grandparents had the first pharmacy in Israel. I remember going after the 6-day war, 3 weeks after, going there for 6 years in a row. So my commitment to Israel is known.
That we should bring to justice the settlers who commit violence against Palestinians in the West Bank.
So I think it's pretty interesting because you still have Larry Ellison, whose son owns Paramount, and Larry Ellison is the biggest owner of Zionist funding. Daniel Cormier, former double champ, current commentator, revealed on a tweet that he received some text messages from son of Donald Trump, Eric Trump, about some insider information. And I'll read the tweet as is. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for bringing this to light. However, I refuse to stay silent. The UFC is a sport I am deeply passionate about. I will not tolerate this type of insider behavior. Shame on everyone for trying to ruin this beautiful event. Hey Daniel, I'm going to attend the UFC 250 event tomorrow. Saw you casting. Hope to see you there. Yo, Eric, didn't expect a DM from you. Excited to meet you and the family. Much love, brother. Anything you can tell me about the fighters tomorrow? Who you got winning? You placing any bets? Nah, actually, I'm not allowed to bet on any other card or fights or anything. Are any of the fighters injured that you know of? I'm not quite sure you're asking me this, but I think they're all in good shape. I'll just cut to the chase. Are any of the fights tomorrow rigged? I've been eyeing the Lopez fight. I think it's an upset. Wouldn't be too realistic. Money. And yeah, I'm still confused whether this is the official, this is real. I'm still unclear whether this is real, but it appears as is. It is from the original Daniel Cormier. You can find people retweet threads of showing that this was a real tweet posted by Daniel Cormier's account.
To the DC. This is the real DC. You click on that and it's his actual page, and it looks like the community notes got his ass. So the community notes got him too, So, hey, man, it's real. Sorry to fucking burst your bubble.
So to me, I can only think, did Dana White make him delete this? Like, why did DC not bring this up to Dana White prior to posting this. So I'm just confused. I don't know if this is true, but it's still compelling. It's still something worth adding to the fucking iceberg. I'm an animal, not having rigged fights.
It's us from the animal. Now, if you can't trust a fix, what can you trust?
The night before the U.S. military captured Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife, somebody, somewhere, placed an extremely well-timed bet. An anonymous user on the prediction market site Polymarket bet $32,000 that the Venezuelan president would be out of power by January 31st. And that user cashed out, making more than $400,000.
These markets are the wildest of the Wild West.
And then lastly, I would like to mention on this entry is that you have a lot of alt or white ring UFC fighters. And I haven't seen any alt left. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't seen them really like advocate a platform. If you do have any, please let me know. I'm just curious. But mostly the ones I know, because I ain't gonna lie, far right media, it's pretty entertaining. I ain't gonna lie. Okay, I shouldn't say that. It's captivating. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, it's so jarring. Like Bryce Mitchell, bro. I love Bryce Mitchell. But let me get into it. You have a lot of former fighters who become radical right. Since being in the UFC, you have Sean Strickland, Bryce Mitchell, and Jake Shields voice their opinions a lot more than you saw in the beginning of their career. And I don't find it crazy at all, because when you are an independent contract fighting for every penny, it only makes sense that you want to conserve all the money that you are given and offered. It's not crazy to say. They are completely self-reliant on themselves. It's the self-preservating mentality. Layer 8, my last and most important entry. If I were to have you remember anything from this video, it would be this one part. I would ask my audience to take away this. I am a lover of history. I believe history truly repeats itself, and you should listen to that. You should look at the contextual evidence that history has repeated itself. Now, UFC Freedom 250 White House card. You have gladiator fights on the White House lawn. Although badass, it is distracting, just like the Roman Empire and ancient Rome. I wish I could admire that and watch someone get eaten by a fucking lion. And as a consumer, you fall right into the trap, because this has been a rule or rubric to follow and to get all the sheep in line since ancient Rome, homie. It's literally from ancient Rome. Look, gladiator spectacles were free to the public, sponsored by the state, and were adored by the impoverished into the state. But the event distracted civilians from the corrupt government and only perpetuated the economic decline of civilization. I know to some, I'm overthinking. But, so once one domino falls, the collapse only gets bigger. Alright? And we're talking about humanity here. I truly believe that the mind, our intelligence as a whole, people aren't as smart as they were 20, 30 years ago. And I'm 18, so, you know, I don't know what we're talking about, really, honestly. But it's like, dude, some people have no cognitive dissonance to realize that you are being fucked over. And you may not be now, but in 20, 30 years, it's going to be too late for you to get out of the sand you have built for yourself, because you're addicted to all the damn screens. You're addicted to easy media, easy. We're literally living in Blade Runner 2049 before it's too late. You don't own anything. You don't own a house, and all you own is meta glasses and shit to goon to. Like, it's crazy. And I wanted to advocate the whole distraction, right? Is to just have an amazing life for the same elected few, the same elected people who are genuinely, to some, are superhuman and are superheroes. It's like, dude, they're human, but they're elected by society to be rich, to be powerful, and just live the life that you'll never have. And you just live vicariously through. I love fighting and the culture within the UFC, but I do not want to be shorted a job and witness other Americans, Palestinian children, and allow my voice not to be heard. I want others to know their opinion shouldn't be invalidated because they do not generate millions of corporate dollars. And feel empathy as well as the love for violence. Do not fall into the corporate hogwash of sports washing. So don't look vicariously through athletes. Live vicariously through yourself. Love yourself. You should be able to be like, I want to be just as famous as Islam. I can do what Islam's doing, or whatever the hell. Because, bro, don't let a select few take away an opportunity from you. Like, think about these YouTubers who are doing celebrity boxing. You could do the same damn thing, bro. And that's like lousy stuff. But that means you can truly do anything, bro. Grab the word by the balls. Don't let Dana White tell you can't do it. Kimbo Slice did it, baby. Rest in peace, Kimbo. That's real fucking patriotism. What Kimbo did from the round up to the fucking UFC. That's all I gotta say.
Let's go.
There's nothing you can't do. I love Jesus. Absolutely nothing you can't do ever. You could do anything. You're a child. I'm just autistic. Autism gives me superpowers. Let's go.